Hello and welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London. And you can find me on Instagram as Skeindeer, and you can find me on Ravelry as a designer called Skeindeer Knits. And there is of course the Ravelry group Skeindeer Knits, which is the best place to take part in knit-alongs, potential giveaways, the chatter, the community, getting in touch about pattern support, or yeah, anything sort of in general to do with Skeindeer Knits, what have you. Welcome to my podcast or videocast or talk show, as I've come to call it. This is where I sit and talk about knitting for about an hour or so. I talk about what I have made, what I have designed, what I'm working on, what I have bought, anything to do with knitting. So if you're a newbie, welcome. I hope this is for you. I hope you will enjoy. And to returning viewers, welcome back. So nice for you to join me here again. I always appreciate you returning. So yeah, thank you for that. I am, as ever, going to start off with a little bit of admin talk, and then I'm just going to continue talking about everything I've knitted and a couple of purchases, because I have been both to Norway and to Unravel, both of which I will be talking about at the very end of the episode, because it's just kind of how I do things in order. There's the admin, there's the knitting, and then there's the more, I guess, personal stuff that only regular viewers may or may not be interested in. So yes, admin. I am currently running two knit-alongs, so I'm going to cover them very briefly. I am running the Year-long knit-along of 2019, which is the knit-along where we aim to make 6 pairs of colorwork mittens for the duration of 2019. They cannot be started before 2019 and they must be finished by the end of 2019. So that is a knit-along that is going on. The other knit-along is the, whoa, what did I call it? Second language cal. It's a knit-along where we try to basically knit from a pattern written in a language that we do not often knit from. I have made the arbitrary rule that you cannot have knitted from this language 5 or more times. So you're supposed to try to find a language that you haven't knitted from before. So it doesn't have to be a second language. It could be a language you don't know at all. It could be a language that you know really well, that you just happen to never have knitted from before. It's to encourage people to branch out, essentially. So that, more information about all these things in my Ravelry group, that is what it's for. Having covered all that rather briefly for a change, I'm going to jump straight into stuff I have been knitting on the past week or two. There are no finished objects that I can think of, so yeah, just going to start showing you my works in progress. Taha! This bag was made by my mum. She was going to make me one bag and I was like, maybe we should just buy a couple of fabrics, and she was like, I'm never going to make you more than one bag, and I'm like, yeah, you are. She did. As soon as she got the hang of it, I knew she would be hooked. So now she's like my personal bag maker or something, as if I don't have enough project bags. And yes, every time I get a new bag, I cost on something new. There's already an example here behind me, but we'll get to that when we get to that. In this bag we have Islender. That's why I've called it anyway. I don't know if I'm going to call it Islender because that's like the name of every sweater that is in this style. I might call it Islander just to Englishify it a little bit, and a bit of a homage to a song I quite like. And yeah, this is how far I've come. It is substantially closer to being finished than last time. Last time I was just done this much. This time I actually naively thought I could finish it by the time I got to Norway, or during Norway, so during my stay in Norway, so that I could photograph it there in the beautiful surroundings, but that did not happen. So yeah, I've gotten this far. It is supposed to be sort of a long crop. That's how I call it, when it so goes just below the waist but not much longer. It is a little bit far from that yet, but not too bad. Yeah, it's really just same old, and just repeating this stitch pattern again and again and again and again. I don't get to complain because I'm making this pattern, but yeah, it's weirdly, it's not even tedious, it's just very samey same. So it's really good to bring for knit nights and stuff. If you ever wanted to have something that's color work that you could bring around while still being fairly social, then this is actually a really good project for that. You're probably not going to make any mistakes because this is not hard to memorize. And there are always 2 rows in between each, which is just stockinette, so that helps. So that's Islender for you. It's going to have sleeves. It's going to be a drop shoulder design, and then we'll see when it comes out. I'm gonna estimate maybe March, no, April, I don't know. I haven't started test knitting for it yet. That's my planning capabilities the past I was going to say month, but then I was going to say year, and then I was going to say 2 years. So as of late, it's not been great. Plus, like last year, I only had 1 jumper to get out, and I was like super on the ball about that. And then this time it was like so many things. Oh my days. The yarn I am knitting with is Vilje. This is a yarn by Hillesvåg. It was initially just going to be a white companion yarn to their pelt wool yarn, which is a grey fleece, and they don't like bleaching their yarn, so they made a lamb's wool to go along with that and those colours, so that you can do colour work and it will actually show. But I think they've still found that this yarn definitely has a place of its own. A lot of Norwegian yarn dyers are dying on this base, and I think they have developed more colours at the Hillesvåg mill as well, and I am crossing all my fingers that they will make more, because right now the colour range is a little bit limited and a bit baby-y and not quite my colour scheme, but I am hopeful. I'm going to be talking more about this yarn when we get to my acquisitions. Yeah, I'm just using white and charcoal because those colours of Vilje I really do love, and the yarn is quite possibly my favourite yarn. It has everything. I love the meterage of it. I love how kind of lofty it is. I love it's still quite strong. It's really soft. Oh my god, it's such a treat to wear. It's very quickly become a desert island yarn of mine, and if the colour range expands, it might just be my favourite yarn ever. So there's Islender for you, upcoming pattern that I haven't even written down yet. That's the level of professionality we're working at here. Another design of mine that I have been working on is actually one that I've already knitted, but I decided to make a second one because I want one. This is a shawl that I currently have in test knit, and I reckon it will come out anytime soon. I did estimate the end of February, so it might actually be out by the time I release this episode, and it might just be out early March. I don't really know. My test knitters have been really good. I am mainly the one who's being a little bit slow, so I'm gonna get to that after I record this episode. But here we have it. I'm knitting this shawl. It is bottom up, and the first couple of rows are quite the slog, and I'm now on the first eyelet row, and then you get into the lace and you kind of get very sort of, I guess, focused on that, although it's the simplest lace in the world. I mean, it's my first lace pattern. I wasn't going to get too complicated, and after that it's such a breeze. You just, because there's so many decreases all of a sudden, because it's a Faroese shaped shawl and they tend to be shaped that way so they sit nicely around the shoulders by kind of decreasing a lot more all of a sudden. So yeah, haven't made that much progress on it yet. I did bring it with me to Norway, but then I was working more on the Islender because I wanted to have it finished. It didn't happen, and then I may have started another project. Yeah, that's what I'm doing this year. Do you remember at the beginning of the year I was like, oh yeah, I think my New Year's resolution, nothing official, but like internally, I might actually have a go at my whips, my work in progress. And I'm just looking at them now. They haven't even been touched. I keep casting on. Oh well. I think this is very much a symptom of the fact that I am finishing up a PhD. I'm supposed to be doing the write-up. Clearly not doing that right now. And it's just my reaction to that. I wasn't like this before. I'm not sure this is going to keep happening the rest of my life. It's just kind of reflecting the phase I'm in right now, where knitting really needs to be a no rules, everything goes, I am allowed to enjoy it kind of thing. Not to say that you can't enjoy being monogamous, but for me, I need to know that I'm not putting any restrictions on myself and my knitting and what I want to cast on, and it's kind of working out right now. It doesn't seem to stress me out. I quite like the sight of all my project bags, and yeah, but it's I'm recognizing it's gone a little bit far. I'm not completely, just as long as I'm happy, I am knitting this in James & Smith 2-ply jumper weight. This is a beautiful yarn, Shetland yarn. This is the unbleached white. I don't think I work with bleached whites anymore. Unless I want a really cool look, I will pretty much always go for unbleached white. And this shade 1A, in case you're curious. A very catchy colorway names here. Yeah, I used a sport weight yarn on the previous shawl, the one I have shared a photograph on Instagram, and I think a lot of people are very nervous about that. It's like the gauge is 15 or 17 stitches per 4 inches or 10 centimeters, and I think for a lot of people, you know, that's a gauge for chunky weight yarn, and I'm using sport weight, and in this case fingering weight. Shawls are different, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. Shawls are very, very different, and especially if you knit with a woolen spun yarn, a very sticky yarn, it's not gonna, like, this would not go well if I used a superwash yarn, shall we say. This is one of the advantages of a non-superwash that has a bit of stick to it, and the fact that it's a shawl. I wouldn't do a jumper in this yarn and that gauge, but for a shawl it's fabulous. So don't be alarmed, try it out. This, I mean, so far you can see the fabric here. This is a really nice fabric for a lace shawl. I think this is actually the looser of the 2 gauges. So I'm recommending to get 2 sizes that are both pretty large, because this is kind of the thing about gauge. I always talk about gauge. Any chance I get I will talk about gauge. Is I'm not the swatch police. I don't swatch. Do you think I swatch for any of the thing I do? No, sometimes, but rarely, because usually I will know what needle size I will need, and if I'm wrong I will rip it out. But the thing about gauge is that it will always matter. It doesn't matter if you care to swatch. I don't care if you swatch. I don't care if I swatch, but it will always matter. You will always attain a gauge in your knitting. Your project will have your stitches will be of a certain size, a certain width, a certain height, depending on your yarn and needle size and your own tension. The primary way that you can influence these things is with needle size. I don't necessarily think you need to change anything else, certainly not your tension, but everything's going to have a gauge, and that gauge will impact on the final size of your item. So even if there's something that you will never swatch for, I don't swatch for shawls, I don't swatch for mittens, I don't swatch for hats, you know, that kind of thing, that's fine, but your final project will have a size depending on your gauge, whether you swatched or not. And swatches lie. Swatches are full of lies. God, I don't like swatches. So that's kind of my my gauge message today. Yeah. Another project. Can I reach it? Yes, I can. Okay, so this is, by the way, a beautiful bag that I picked up from when I visited Isolde Teague's studio in Edinburgh. This is by Anna Wright. AnnaWright.co.uk. She's got it in her web shop, Isolde, so you can find them there. Yeah, pretty bag with a pretty project that I cast on just before I left to Norway, and went to, whatever, and I actually deliberately left it at home because I knew that if I brought it with me I would be knitting on just this and not the Islander sweater. But it's here. I haven't gotten super far, but I have spent a lot of time on it because there was a lot of short rows in the beginning, and my purling is not as fast as my knitting. See if I can show you this in a somewhat sensible way. This is probably better. This is Granito by Joji Locatelli. It's been in my queue for quite some time, as have many things, even though I keep casting on. So hopefully you can see that. Anyone who's knitted this sweater will be like, no it isn't. This is not how Granito, this is not what my Granito looked like when I was knitting on it, you might say. You would be totally right, because I don't ever follow patterns, apparently. But I'm going to try to talk you through how this pattern works and how I'm doing it differently and how it's going to result in the same thing. Ha! So, the pattern tells you to cast on for the length of the back. So from this shoulder all the way across the neck to the other shoulder. Oops. And then you work back and forth in short rows, and then you're supposed to work down, oops, and then you're supposed to work down the length until the underarm, which I think was for my size about 17 centimeters ish. And then you pick up for the front. You pick up for one front to do some short rows, then you increase towards the front neckline. Do the same thing for the other side, you know, pick up, short rows, increase down, and then you cast on for the middle of the neckline here, right between my fingers, and then you knit down the length of the front to the other arm. So you kind of have the front, right, as a panel and the back as a panel, and they will be joined in the round under the arm. Not a very unconventional construction. That's an awful lot of purling for me. So what I did, right, I followed the instruction with casting on for the length of the back, did the short rows, and as I was done with that I started immediately picking up for the front with the different skein and follow the instructions there, and I did exactly according to the pattern until I had joined for the front neckline here, and that was when I joined in the round with steeks. Yes, so I just knitted all the way and cast on, I think I'm gonna say 7 stitches, 5 stitches, no 5 stitches, because selvage is already incorporated, I assume, when it's supposed to be knit flat. So I just put in 5 that I'm gonna be cutting through right the middle. Thank you, neighbours. And some people just started boring a drill somewhere, so I hope you can't hear that, that's gonna happen now apparently. So there we have it. Basically there's a steek here for the armhole. So it's looking weirdly similar to my Islender actually. Obviously I knitted this after I started that, but I've sort of figured I could apply this method across the board. So this is how long the steek is, how long the armhole is, and I just need to keep knitting down both the front and the back at the same time in the round till it's 17 centimeters long, i.e. just to the underarm. I hope that made sense. I was quite lucky in this pattern that it all kind of lined up with the front of the neckline and everything, so it's not been too complicated at all. And I can just knit this in the round. Now the yarn I am a bit hesitant to cut through. It might be fine, it might not. I have had to drop some stitches down to fix something that should have been knit or should have been purl and that kind of thing, and it's been quite sticky. It's been quite hard to get undone. So it might be fine, but I know this is a fairly smooth yarn for a woolen spun sheep wool, because this is BFL Masham Dyed by the Knitting Goddess. This is this beautiful charcoal yarn. I think I got it at my first Edinburgh Yarn Festival back in 2017. Every time I see Knitting Goddess yarn, I want to buy it, and Joy is an even worse enabler than I am, which means she's better at enabling than I am. I cannot resist. This is how I ended up with this stuff in the first place. So I figured I better knit it up before I am at my 3rd Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So you might want to have a close up to this beautiful marled charcoal here. And if you've seen photos of Joji Locatelli's Granito, you will know that that's pretty much the colour she went for. So I may have been a little bit inspired. Yeah. I think I actually found the pattern when I was browsing Ravelry ages ago, looking for something to use this yarn for, and I was like, well, that's a perfect match. And I do wear a lot of dark colours, so I might as well knit with them as well. So there, I don't know if I have much else to say. You might want to see a bit closer how the colours are kind of marling. It does also have this very nice slip stitch feature down here. You basically just slip the stitches every other round. There's nothing fancier than that going on. I'm not a huge fan of how it's interacting with the short rows here, but I think the further I knit, the less it's going to bother me, because it's going to be a massive sweater where everything is right and just this little detail up at the shoulder that I'm hardly going to pay attention to. At the back it's actually placed differently, and that's deliberately in the pattern. It's down here, so this is where it is here and this is where it is here, so they're not supposed to align. That's Granito for you. Hopefully I will get further on that later on. It's a really nice pure stockinette project that I can bring around. It was great to have for Unravel. I may or may not finish by Edinburgh, so I might bring it up there. Yeah, just good to have some stockinette when you go to knit nights and are lazy. So I have cast on another garment. Yes, I know my cast on to cast off rate right now is like 9 to 1 or something. I keep casting on garments pretty much every episode. I don't know how many I've cast on even this year. I'm only on the 2nd month, but yeah, and also I was actually going to try to just like hide this one from you and just be like pretend I hadn't cast for more than one since last time, but I've actually made considerable progress, so there is no hiding this one, and so my honesty with you guys is still here, don't worry. This is Magnolia by Camilla Vard. This is a garment that was part of Lane magazine, and I am steeking it. As you can see, I have chalked in a little steek here, and it will be cut through. This is completely 100% inspired / stolen by Ingvild, who has a podcast with Kristin in Norway called sticky therapy, and she made this pretty much the exact same way, I assume, and I fell head over heels in love with it, and I want one for myself because she also used Finull garn and just Finull garn, and I have inspected the cardigan in person. I think it's lovely. I would never have guessed that you could knit Finull at a 20 stitch gauge. For me that's 4.5mm needles, and I just would never have thought that would be nice. But look at that. This is not see-through. My hand is right underneath there now. It is not see-through. It's a little bit. Hello. You can see some, the light is changing a little, but for me who wants a really light cardigan now, oh my god, it's like this whole world opening up to me of possibilities of what I can do with Finull. I never really wanted to go any looser than 24 stitches in the past. I think I'm gonna stick to that for yarns like Holst and yeah, finer yarns like that, but for Finull, you could definitely go looser. Look at that. And this is before wash. You know, all these yarns, they have a bit of a bloom to them after you wash them. Holst is quite particular because it's got spinning oil, and most of the bloom is because it's just getting washed off. But a lot of the bloom for wool and spun yarns in general is just because they just kind of open up a bit and fluff up. So I am so thrilled with this. The yoke was very quick to knit. Even the twisted rib neckline was surprisingly quick, and then I was knitting through the yoke as I was scanning photos back when I was in Norway. I've been sharing a couple of these photos on Instagram, and it's just been really nice and nostalgic. And anyway, I am down with the flowers now. Down with the flowers, it sounds so cool. As you can see, they are actually quite high up. This is the underarm, and the flowers, they start quite soon after. Can you guess why? It's because I want it cropped, as ever. I wear a lot of skirts. I am the kind of pear shape that basically the out starts right below my waist. Like immediately, as soon as we pass the belly button, it's out. I know a lot of other pear shaped people feel like, at least people I talk to, are less inclined to wear crop tops because I think they feel like their out is further down. My out is very much up there, so for me to wear something longer than my waist often actually just makes me look a bit like, I don't know, it's like it hides part of my shape, like any shape that's like waist up. I'm like, but that's, I'm not here for that. So crop top seems to be working out for me really well, and yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the flowers happening here, because I've just been knitting on this a little bit this morning, and the bubbles were quite flat. This is pretty much what it's been looking like for me. I don't know if you can see, there are supposed to be 4 bubbles. It doesn't look great. I'll try to get it in focus. Right, they are there. It's just not great. However, check this out. So what have I done here to make these pop? Well, I found this really frustrating feature. Right, so this is one example. It's a bubble I haven't done this thing with yet. I found, quite annoyingly, that every time I knit a bubble, when I come around the next round, the stitch before becomes quite loose. I don't know if you can tell. So right here, there's a lot of looseness going on, right? So what I decided to do is that I actually pull this loose stitch. I'm just going to pull it all the way up, make sure it's nice and tight now. Twist it, give it a bit of a twist, right? And then pull it over the bubble. This is not a tutorial. Do not try this at home without, I don't know. Try it at home actually, by all means. So now it's over the bubble. I'm going to twist it around even once more and put it over the bubble once more. And just give it a bit of a tug. Hey, look at that. And now it's popping, and it's nice and tight just before it. Fixed it. Fixed 2 problems in one, both the lack of pop and the loose stitch next to it. Maybe I should do another one just for the sake of it. Just pull, twist around. Worst tutorial ever. Oh my god, this is why I don't do them. Okay, put it over the bubble, twist around even more. I say twist around, you're literally just like, this is the loop, and you're just gonna go around and pull it over the bubble. Yeah, look at that. So now there's only 2 left that I need to do this with on this particular flower whatever you want to call it, Magnolia. I'm really chuffed with this. It's not something I'd probably ever write down in the pattern. It seems like a little bit of a cheeky shortcut, but it works. I'm totally happy with it. So yeah, I've done it on some of them and some of them I haven't, and I'm just going to do them whenever I feel like it. I can't be bothered to do them all in one go, but you can see the difference between when I have done it and when I haven't. It's definitely a really cool trick, because I can never get bubbles right. This happens every time, and I'm pretty pleased with actually having found a solution. So I don't know if I have anything else to say about this right now, other than it's been really quick. I think towards the, how did this go? So less than a week ago I cast this on, right? And I've been knitting on other things too. I did maybe down to here of the yoke when I was in Norway, just like in between meeting family and stuff, and then down to here on the divide at Unravel, and I was like knitting it just as I was walking around. And then I just been knitting down to here on Sunday and a little bit this morning. That's not too shabby. This is so quick. I mean, it's all owing to the really big needle size and the fact that there's always some interest, something new happening in this pattern. So that's my Magnolia for you. So yeah, no mohair happening here. I do seem to be fattening up my mohair stash quite a bit, but I didn't want mohair in this one. I just want a nice, simple, charcoal, mostly stockinette bit of lace cardigan that I can just wear when it's not too hot, not too cold. Very pleased with it. It might just become my Edinburgh cardigan. I thought I had them planned out, but it's just changing, and I can't be stopped. I can't be predicted. It's just, the knitting mojo's gotta have to speak for itself. The other really surprising thing is that I actually think I'm only on skein 3. Right, these come in 50-gram balls, and I'm only in the 3rd one. I think this is going to be enough for the entire body, but I'm not sure, so I reckon I will use another 2 for the sleeves, and then I'll have 3 left of the sweater quantity I got in Norway. Yeah, I think that's me segueing into my acquisitions. So yes, I did get a lot of Finull. I got 8 skeins altogether, so 3 of them are in the project and the other 5 are here. It's a really affordable yarn from Norway. It's quite possibly my favorite. It's certainly, you know, Vilje and Hillesvåg are quite neck and neck right now. If it were a contest, I don't think it is anyway. They've upped the price a little bit. It used to be kind of 30-35 krone. That's like roughly 3 to 3.5 pounds. It's now gone up to 4 pounds, like 41 krone. So that's a bit annoying, but still quite affordable. That's what, 8 pounds for 100 grams. I know that back when I was on a very tight budget, that was still out of the question, so I can still appreciate that for some of you that's still not affordable enough. But I still thought it's worth mentioning for those who can't afford it, because it's just, there's no compromise for me. Like, I'm not like, oh, I don't like it that much, but it's kind of affordable, so whatever. Like, it's everything, this yarn. I absolutely love it. And there's rumors going around that they've started to blend in some lamb's wool in the mix. It doesn't say on the label or anything, it just says 100% Norwegian wool, which is still true, so I guess I get why they're not putting it on the label, but I do wonder if it makes it quite a bit softer. I do feel like it's a lot softer than this, but in general I find their undyed or at least grey tones to be softer. So, Finull, that was one purchase. The rest of the purchase is in this massive bag. Most of the reason why it's massive is because I, well, did mule a little bit of yarn for friends of mine as well. So, you know, but there's still some yarn in here that I bought. I got 3 skeins of plain Vilje. Now that I've used up quite a bit of it into my Islender, I needed more. This is why my stash is never going to shrink, because I'm like, oh, I've used it up, I need to get some more. And I also got some more charcoal Vilje because I realized I'm like this close to have a sweater quantity. So I got 2 of these, so now I will have enough to do a garment. I'm probably just going to reverse the colors of the sweater I'm doing in a different design, but still I think I can just use the same because I love this color so much. Just a very nice proper charcoal, very close to black but not quite. I also got 2 of these. This is one of the colorways that they have that I actually don't hate. They do a really nice red and a nice yellow, and the greys and the white. This is just, yeah, red. They call it 406, so that's red, I guess. I don't know what to do with it. Just 2 skeins, maybe a future shawl now that I'm doing shawls. I also got 2 skeins of Sol. Sol is kind of the thicker Vilje, if you will. It's made to match up with Tinde, as Vilje is made to match up with Sølje. So Sol is, I guess, arguably DK, and Vilje is more of a fingering. And I was initially actually going to make a Magnolia in Sol, but then I found that beautiful charcoal shade of Finull, so now I've got Sol lined up for something else, because again I already had 2 skeins and I just got another 2 to have a sweater quantity. Realizing now I probably should have gotten another one, but we'll see. If I need another one, I'll get another one later. I don't find that Hillesvåg's dye lots differ that much, and if they do, I'm just going to stripe the transition between the skeins. So I'm just about ready to go into what I got on Unravel, but before that I thought I would just show you a couple of other things. One is, my mom made me another bag. This is a little bit funny. Okay, so she got this print again. I have another bag that she made me in this print that I use a lot. Just really fun woodlands print. And the funny thing about this is, like, I've been quite specific that I want these dimensions, right? This height, this width. I'm almost like, well, the zipper only fits this distance, so it's gonna be the opposite dimensions. I'm just gonna put out a handle because there was some fabric left, whatever, and that was surprisingly functional. I don't think she intended it, but what's happened is I have this zipper I can, like, maybe put up here. I can put this from my wrist and the yarn will come out here and I can knit as I walk, which is what I did at Unravel, and it worked out really well. And yeah, in here there's also this lovely print, because I am Skeindeer, so you know, it's appropriate. So that is currently the bag that my Magnolia lives in. I just thought you might want to see it. And before I went to Norway and before Unravel and before all that, I actually, a week ago, had a dyeing date with a couple of friends from a knit night of mine. And yeah, we decided to dye yarn. And first thing I tried was, of course, to use this beautiful non-superwash lamb's wool that I have and try to dye it in a very deep dark burgundy. Yes, you heard it right, surprise. And I threw in all the dye, like lots of red, a bit of blue and black, and like really made this deep beautiful kind of dye bath and immersed the skein. And then when I was sure it was all covered, I let it still sit in the dye, and then we put it in with the dye and everything in this kind of takeout box, this plastic box, and put cling film all around it to make sure it wouldn't leak, so that we could dye it in the microwave. And it looked like a package of minced beef, so I called it minced beef or minced meat, I'm not sure. And yeah, eventually, after a lot of nuking in the microwave, I had to rinse it out, and a lot of the colour was still in the dye bath, so it didn't take in any dye anymore, so just kept rinsing and rinsing and rinsing. And the colour I ended up with was not at all burgundy, not even close. This is not at all saturated. This is just what? I know it's hard to dye non-superwash, but honestly, it didn't even take in most of the dye. It's beautiful, but not what I was going for. It's not quite a colour that I think. I mean, this is so soft. I would make probably a shawl with it, and I'm not sure. I don't know. It's so lovely though, but why you do this to me? This is the second time I've tried to dye this skein. I tried it with beetroot earlier until I realised that beetroot is terrible for dyeing, and I didn't actually have the right mordant. So this is only my second attempt at dyeing ever. I am not professional. I'm just dabbling and just having fun with some friends, and clearly I'm not getting things right. Feels really nice though. I just wish the colours would not be this, you know. I do have one potential plan for it with another skein of mine that I've had for a while. There is hope, but why couldn't you just be burgundy? I did also bring a superwash skein of mine that I had to dye, and it worked out a lot better. We just started throwing a lot of blues and blacks and a bit of pink and purple on it, and I was like, we're gonna channel Interstellar Kittens, okay? And that's totally what I'm gonna call this colorway. Look at that, Interstellar Kittens with lots and lots of tangles. Oh, I am not looking forward to rescanning this beast, but it's totally Interstellar Kittens. Look at that. Yeah, it's just a little bit tangled. It's no big deal. Just need to spend a couple of afternoons on this one, but very, very pleased with the colorway. Honestly, this is just really fun. I want to do some like space socks with it because it's just all space. Yeah, I'm not too chuffed with the tangles. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, when it's wet it's just all over the place. So ooh. I've had fun. We all had a blast just like getting all these different colors happening. Some dyed with acid dye, some dyed with Kool-Aid, and some dyed with, was it madder? So lots of interesting colors happening. The madder was definitely more successful than my burgundy mess. So yeah, it was a cool experience. I want to try dyeing again, but it's not something I'm aiming to do professionally in the next, you know, century. And now moving into Unravel. I was so fortunate that I had a couple of lovely people giving me things. I thought I'd just start off with that. First of all, I got a unfinished pair of socks from Amy of the Shredded podcast for a belated birthday present. I didn't ask what colorway this is. I should have done that, but yeah, basically Amy just hasn't put in the afterthought heel because she didn't know the size of my feet, so I'm gonna have to do that, or you know, maybe next time she's here I'm like, do you remember that sock? But yeah, it's super beautiful. My guess is that this has been cranked on the machine, and the toes and the cuff being hand knit, because that's kind of what she does. And yeah, I love the colors, it's really cool. So thank you, Amy. Yeah, so birthday present. I also got this really cute bag from my friend Sarah, who was at Unravel, that she'd sewn me, and it's just really nice with like yarn things, drawstrings things. Oh my god, why am I so bad at terminology? Like, it doesn't matter what it is, if it's knitting, if it's psychology, any of like the things I'm supposed to know stuff about, terminology goes way over my head. Anyway, beautiful, adorable bag. So thank you so much, Sarah. And both me and Amy had these lovely women come up to us and give us some minis. One of them gave me this adorable mini. If this was hand dyed by them, I'm very sorry I didn't get a label, and I have no memory of what the yarn was called. Feel free to comment down below if this is your yarn and you want to have a name attached to it. And I also got this little mini along with some sweets. So yeah, thank you, that was so nice. Never expect these things to come my way, so that's amazing. Thank you so much. So we're now left with the Unravel purchases. Yeah, it's just the one bag. I think I did pretty good. You know, you've seen me at Edinburgh. This is not too bad, okay? So yes, first of all, I got a tote that I was given from one of my favorite yarns. Yeah, I am deliberately avoiding pronunciation. And I was given some yarn as well to design with, and I thought I'd show you. So yeah, this beautiful duo I want to use for the next Selby Mitten Club that I'm slowly starting to plan for. So 100% merino wool, sourced and spun in Bavaria, 2-ply woolen spun, 100 grams equals 220 meters. Recommended gauge about 22 stitches to 10 centimeters. Yeah, so this is a slightly new colorway that's a very dark brown, which I feel like looks very close to a natural black, if you will, and this is unbleached white, and I thought that's a really nice classic look, and that's kind of what I'm going for this year, without revealing too much. I think I will talk about that later. But yeah, I love this yarn so much. I want to do more clothes in it, more garments. Yeah. Actually, I just remembered this one came in the mail when I came back from Norway, and it's the latest issue of Pom Pom. I have just renewed my subscription, and this sweater is knit in Gilead yarn, and I'm like, I could knit that in some, oh wow, that yarn that I just showed you. Although I do love Gilead as well, they're quite similar. and I love the sweater, and I can imagine it must be a very quick knit. But do I need to cast on more garments? No, I don't. But yeah, latest issue of Pom Pom in my possession. So one thing I knew for sure was that I was definitely not going to get more mohair. I have gone from someone who has no mohair in their stash to having quite a few sweater quantities, so I don't need any more mohair. This just followed me home anyway. Yeah, and there's one of them coming undone. Oh dear. They are quite slick because they do have a lot of silk in them. So it's a silk mohair from Ainsworth. So, logo time. Yes, I do already have some yarn from this dyer from last year's Unravel, and it's just beautiful. Really nice burgundies all around, and I had to get this sweater quantity of silk mohair, even though I guess I wish there was another skein for just to make sure it would get my size, but this is probably enough anyway. It's 5 of them, and it was actually a really good price as well. I'm very happy with that, and like, I'm totally understanding of hand dyers wanting to up the prices of their yarn because it's hand dyed, but I'm also equally appreciative when I can actually afford buying a whole sweater quantity of hand dyed silk mohair. So yeah, that was a really nice find. I adore this colorway and I have no idea what I'm going to make, so isn't that nice? I'm just going to put it next to my burgundy onion silk mohair and my burgundy Gideon yarn silk mohair. Why? So I was quite shocked at myself how well I'd done. I hadn't really bought yarn throughout most of the day. I'd picked up these babies and suddenly found myself with this mohair. I'm like, oh, okay, let's just have a sit down and look at some yarn that we bought. And then I saw the yarn that both Caroline of Dundee Knit and Knitting Vicariously and Hannah of the Corner of Craft had bought, and they had been at the Skein Queen booth, or Skein Queen, yeah, pronunciations. And this yarn was amazing, and I had to have some, so I had some. Sadly, there were only 2 skeins left. I would have preferred to have 3 for my size in a sweater quantity, but I got the last 2. I just adore this. This is a 70% Corriedale, 30% Polwarth. It's so smooth and shiny. I actually thought it was superwash, but it's apparently not. It's spun at John Arbon, and 200 grams each, 506 meters each, so it just totals to 1012 meters. I don't know if that's enough for a garment for me in DK weight, but it should be. Maybe, you know, a cropped simple sweater, why not? I'm in hindsight kind of regretting not getting a contrast color to do color work with it, but oh well. I could always get it later, I suppose, or online, but yeah, I should have done that. Hindsight. I just have so much nice stuff to say about this yarn. I'm just going to hold it up so you can see. The colour, I love it. It's a little bit too much on the orange side for my taste, but I still actually really love it. I'm surprised by myself, but there you go. I think I can rock this colour. Yeah. But yeah, it can't be anything that requires an extra meterage, so there's like no cables, nothing like that. It's going to have to be quite simple so that I can have a sweater that is big enough. I don't like 3/4 sleeves or anything like that, so crop tops is what it is. I also got a Skein Queen bag for it, which was super nice. That was when I forgot I already had a tote bag. And in this bag I have 2 of my 2 last purchases. One is this beauty. Look at that. Yeah. I did get a little bit of burgundy. It's just, I know what I like. Yeah, so this is 100% superwash merino DK. This is from 3rd Volt yarn, and this may sound familiar to you because 3rd Volt yarn was the very first hand-dyed yarn I ever bought. If you watched this podcast from the beginning, which I do not recommend, but if you have, you will remember that I had my first hand-dyed skeins from 3rd Volt yarns. It was a trip I made up to Cambridge in mid 2016, and I picked up 2 skeins from 3rd Volt yarns and 1 skein from Sparkle Duck, who's sadly no longer with us, and it's one of those skeins that I'm never going to use until I know exactly what it needs to be. But I am happily knitting with my 3rd Volt yarn skeins. I did end up knitting a shawl for my grandmother, which she's just glued to it. She loves it. I was in Norway just now, and every time I saw her she was wearing it, and she just really likes it. So yeah, had to get another skein. I think this is just going to be a hat. reckon 1DK skein is enough for a hat, and yeah. So that was really nice, and so yeah, absolutely love this colour. Just really tonal burgundy. At last, my last purchase was from Riverknits. Yeah, she's been dyeing on this Jacob base, which is surprisingly nice and soft for Jacob. I have knitted with Jacob and kind of felt like a rug, but this is lovely. I can definitely see myself doing some mittens in this. So I got the unbleached white, I got burgundy, and I got this gorgeous green. So kind of already tempted to put them into the end of year mystery mittens. Just love these colors. Oh, just look at that. I'm trying to like get good light on the burgundy here. I love a burgundy that's like really dark. That's definitely my cuppa. So yeah, definitely happy with that purchase. The colorways are bare white, like it's like a pun. I'm not very good at puns. The green is murmur and the burgundy is jingle. So also, in case you don't know, Riverknits is amazing. She dyes from a riverboat. She lives on and dies from a riverboat. How? How do you? I'm really impressed and amazed. I've said so before. So yay. So my desk is full, so that probably means we are done with acquisitions. This was a bit of a stash fattening week. That's nice. It's been a while since I did that. So yeah, I had a good time at Unravel, and I think I'm just going to spend the last bit of this episode just talking about my life, and if you're not interested in that, then that's fine. I will see you for more knitting talk next time I upload. I, like I said, have been to Norway. The reason why I went wasn't very nice. I did have a nice day, but yeah, it was about Wednesday a week and a half ago. I was phoned up by my mum when I was like in the middle of London and was told that my dear grandfather had passed away. My granddad Eivind had lived for nearly 92 years, and the last couple of years had been a bit rough on his health, but he was still very much, you know, present in his mind and has been himself throughout. And my immediate thought was that this is how he would have wanted to go, you know, just kind of going when he was sleeping, just nothing painful or dramatic, just I know that's how he wanted it. He was quite vocal about these things. He was vocal about most things, and he was always right. Even when he was wrong, he was always right. He was very opinionated. It doesn't sound like me at all, I know. Yeah, that was like the reoccurring thing when people were talking about him during the ceremony and also after. It was like, yeah, he always had to be right, even when he was wrong. Even was like obviously wrong, like he was given, I think, a bottle of brandy and was asked what type of whiskey it was, and like, it must be a really expensive one, and my uncle's like, no, I just gave you brandy. And I'm like, even then he just couldn't be wrong. Yeah, so that's my grandfather for you. I am gonna miss him, but I was sort of okay with it all, and during the actual funeral wasn't feeling like super sad, just kind of, this is how it, you know, if you have to go, then that's how it should be. That should be after you've lived, you know, the kind of life that he lived, which was, you know, having done what he wanted to, academically, professionally, family, enjoying life, which he was definitely proficient at. But on the way out, I saw my grandmother, and I'm like, my sweet grandmother. She's like, after having had him for 70 years, now it's all her. And yeah, I just kind of cracked a little bit then. But after that, like the rest of the funeral get together with when we ate and socialized and stuff, she was amazing. Like, I can't get over this. Like, she needs her, you know, walking aid. I forgot what it's called. It's the thing on wheels. The thing on wheels. she's quite dependent on that. Like, she really tends to fall over. She doesn't have anything to support herself on, and like she's been since like health issues in the past year or two, but she doesn't have like straight up dementia or anything like that. But during this funeral, when like all the relatives were together and people she hadn't met in a while, she would be standing upright, like arms in her waist, and just talking to people like, oh hi, nice to see you. And she was like completely her old self. It was amazing. And she was just like, yeah, that, I don't know, it was just really, really good to see that she was kind of becoming herself in that sense. Yeah, anyway, I'm rambling. It was a very emotional week. I also chose to spend it going through photo albums and having them scanned so that they're not going to get lost if they get, you know, lost. And that was really nice too. And I got to see lots of old photos from my family and myself, so you may see those in the future. I'm kind of just thinking of starting a whole meme series where like I react with photographs of my like 3-year-old self as emojis. I think that's a good theme. So yeah, I don't really know if I have much else to say about that. I have posted more about it on Instagram as these things were happening, so you can keep up with things there. It's just been, yeah, a weird past week. I'm just kind of coming back to London now and like getting back to work and doing all the things. And I really appreciated everyone who's been so supportive on in the comment section on Instagram. I really appreciate that, so thank you all. I can't always get back to everyone because Instagram has this thing that if you like a comment on something too much, they will actually temporarily block you from doing so. So I'm just gonna say it out here. Thank you so much. I have really appreciated it. I feel like there's something I've forgotten to say, as is my life. So yeah, it was a very quick trip to Norway, literally just, yeah, about 3 days, and I made it back to Unravel the day after, right? So I landed at about midnight on Friday, the same day as the funeral, managed to get in some hours of sleep, and the next day I was up early and headed on the train out to out from London to Farnham, where Unravel is at, and yeah, got to inhale all the yarn fumes and meet up with friends and a bunch of you guys, and that was just really nice and super bizarre. It felt like I time traveled. It was like such a change in like time and space, and not really time, but you know what I mean. I usually need a couple of days to like get between Norway and the UK for some reason, and like this time was just bang on, and that's, yeah, weird. I hope I didn't seem too delirious because I was quite frankly very sleep deprived, but I really did enjoy meeting all of you, and was a little bit flatlined at the end of the day. I will say that when we were meeting up at the end of the day, I was just kind of like so it was just really nice to kind of end it on a high note, and now I have to get back to thesis writing life and all that stuff, which you don't want to hear about, trust me. I don't want to talk about either. So let's just wrap things up at that. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. And keep your eyes peeled for patterns on my Instagram and Ravelry, because I'm terrible at keeping up to date on the podcast. So yeah. Thank you for watching again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.